In the recent How to Brew a Gyokuro series that we did, there was a very good question coming from a customer asking how many times can you actually infuse the same Gyokuro tea leaves? The common answer to this question is 2 to 3 times, and I think that's how I answered that question at that point in time. However, it's something that I never actually tried. And I felt that, come to think of it, that's a stone I don't want unturned. So today in this video, I'm gonna churn that stone emphatically. I'm gonna take a batch of Gyokuro and then we're gonna infuse it to its limits. And we'll see how many times we can infuse it and what happens to the flavor as we go on. Hi, I'm Yuka, I'm the founder of Tea Life, and here we break down Japanese tea so you can become a Japanese tea expert. Let's talk about the setup of this experiment. First, the tea that we're going to use is the Gyokuro Umejirushi by Taniguchi. This is the tea I've been using for the Gyokuro How to Brew Gyokuro series, and it's a magnificent tea. It's a high quality tea from Uji, so that's a tea from Kyoto. And it's a good tea to use as a standard benchmark because the number of infusion would probably be dependent on the quality of the Gyokuro tea as well. So this is a good Gyokuro tea to use. In terms of the infusion, we'll start with 50 degrees Celsius water, and then for each infusion, we'll increase by 10 degrees. So 50 degrees, 60 degrees, 70 degrees, 80, 90, and 100, and we'll take 6 infusions and see how each of those infusions taste. For the first infusion, we'll steep it for 2 minutes, and then the next one we'll do 30 seconds, and the next one, or all the subsequent ones, let's try 15 seconds and see how it goes. So it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 15 seconds, and all the rest are 15 seconds. Usually once you open up the leaves, the speed of extraction is very fast. So the first will take a little bit longer, and then after that you can gradually reduce the length of the infusion. We will take 8 grams of Gyokuro Umejirushi tea leaves to 100 milliliters of water for each of the 6 infusions. So we'll be using the same amount of water for every single of the 6 infusions that we'll be doing. 8 grams of tea leaves to 100 milliliters is a very traditional style Gyokuro brewing. So that's what we're going to be enjoying today. And the idea here is first, we're going to really enjoy Gyokuro to the max. So 50 degrees water, low temperature, 100 milliliters of water. We're going to extract the sweetness and umami, and we're going to really enjoy this tea. As we do our second and third infusions, we're going to increase the temperature little by little. And by doing so, we're going to unlock different levels of flavors as well. So first it was very sweet and umami. And then by increasing the temperature, we're going to get more notes, but it's going to also come with some bitterness and some astringency, which will help give it a different texture, give it some more substance after we extract the initial phase of the tea. So it will really change how the taste will feel. And we're going to continue to do that, see how many times the tea can withstand. I hope you can see the glasses from the camera, but we'll be using these glasses so you can see the watercolor of the infusions as well. And this is a very awkward stand here. This is not even a table, it's just boxes. So as you can see, very low production budget here. Please bear with us, but we'll try to make this work. And while we wait for the water to boil, maybe you can have a guess. How many times do you think this Gyokuro would work in terms of infusions? My guess would be 3, but what's yours? Please comment what you think below. That's infusion number 1. And we'll make sure we pour until the last drop as always. See, the color of the second infusion is completely different. It's a lot lighter. Okay, third infusion, here we go. I was talking about the infusions, not noticing that the tea wasn't shown in the camera. I think you can see the camera, you can see the tea right now from the camera. I'll quickly recap how it looks to the naked eye, at least again. So these are infusions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you can see, the first one is distinctly different with almost like a different color. The first one has a more of a golden touch. The viscosity is clearly different. It looks a lot more thicker and it looks a lot more smoother as well. So you don't see as much suspended particles, interestingly. Maybe it might be kind of, masked by the umami and sweetness, those textures. But the first infusion, again, is extremely different. It looks a lot less as well. And the reason for this is because the water is absorbed by the tea leaves. And tea leaves generally absorb about 4 times their weight. So 8 grams of tea leaves absorbs about 32 grams of water. So that's the reason why you see less water here. And then the second infusion, you can see that it suddenly turns more green. And you can see that there's a very interesting color contrast here. Greener and lighter, definitely. And the viscosity, you see that it changes, and you see small green particles suspended. They're more evident in this second infusion. And then the third infusion is actually very similar to the second infusion, but lighter. It's really as simple as that. It looks very similar, but lighter in color, right? And then that's the third to fourth. Same thing. Fourth seems lighter than the third. Everything else seems very similar. It's the fourth to fifth. Now here, it's hard to tell if there's any difference. Excuse me for a second. Yeah, it's hard to tell if there's any difference. Fourth to fifth, and then fifth to sixth. It's really hard to tell if there's any difference at all. Yeah. So I'd say that 1, 2, 3, you can see clear differences based on the infusions. 4, yeah, up to 4, there's going to be a difference. And 4, 5, 6 look very similar to me. All right, let's see how they taste. Let's see how they taste now. Okay, so first we're going to start with the first infusion. Itadakimasu. Ah, yum. It's been a while after I infused it, so the temperature has cooled down further than the 50 degrees we infused it at. But extremely delicious. Definite umami, definite sweetness. The sweetness really stands out. The oika, you can smell. The umami just lingers on the tongue. It's really delicious. It's just very yummy. I can't say much other than that. All right, let's try the second infusion, see how they differ from the first. Very light still, you know. It doesn't, the astringency and the bitterness don't come out as much as you would think. It's actually still very pleasant. It makes sense because it's 70 degrees, and the catechins start to come out of the tea at 80 degrees generally. So it's still very low in terms of astringency. It's very easy to drink. You see a little bit more of the grassy notes compared to the first infusion, where first infusion really don't see that. But the second infusion, you start to see those. Much lighter in terms of the taste, the viscosity compared to the first infusion. Obviously, it's a completely different drink in that sense. But it's a nice second infusion. It's very pleasant. You can still drink this. It would be a waste not to drink this, is my view. Yeah. So nice light green tea is what I would say this is. Third infusion. Let's see how this goes. Itadakimasu. Mm, nice. Non-astringent. Same thing. Very similar to the second infusion. I'm not even sure if it's even lighter. Almost feels like the same. Lighter. Okay, so third infusion is certainly a little bit lighter than the second infusion. And then you see more of those vegetable notes coming out as well. The astringency is very moderate. You don't feel it when you first drink it, but as the tea drains out of your mouth, you feel like the astringency kind of lingering in the tongue a little bit as a structure of the tea. But still good. I like this third infusion. All right, let's try the fourth infusion. You can see I think I added maybe about 10 milliliters too much. So we have a fair bit of water in the fourth infusion. Okay, so the fourth infusion, actually not Not astringent, but I think from the fourth infusion, it feels very light, and more of the you get the the spinach kind of notes, if you will, the vegetable notes. It's not something you can't drink. You get more of the astringency on the tongue that you felt on the third infusion as well. Yeah, so it's not something you cannot drink. But there is a substantial taste difference, I feel. Yeah, there is a drop off between the third and fourth. Yeah. So I think for the fourth infusion, it really feels that the quality components of the tea has drained completely. The third infusion, I still feel some of that. Fourth infusion, it feels like it's just like it lost its strength, you know? So it's a very light tea. It doesn't taste disgusting or anything. It doesn't have a trace of the quality Gyokuro Umejirushi that we had in the first infusion anymore by the time we're at 4. Here's number 5. Okay, so 5 is like even more than that, even more than 4. Yeah, from 5 it's a little bit hard to drink because it's just like you just feel the astringency on the tongue, not too much flavor. Astringent water, it feels like. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, the fifth infusion feels like astringent water. Interesting because remember the color didn't seem all that different from 4, 5, 6. Here's infusion number 6. Yeah, more or less the same. In terms of the astringency levels, I was surprised. I thought that you'd get more of that a little bit more distinctly from the fourth infusion and beyond because this is 80 degrees, 90 degrees, and then 100 degrees. This is where the catechins start to dissolve at a faster pace. But maybe because we gradually did this, you don't get too much of the astringency actually. They're all very mild. And then you kind of lose the flavor of the tea already by the fourth infusion. So it becomes like just this kind of, astringent water. So personally, I would think I would stop at 3. So my initial hypothesis, stopping at 3 was pretty good. Yeah, I would stop at 3 here. If you have the opportunity, do try and see how this works for you. I think this is a very fun experiment. Okay, so that's the end of the experiment. I hope you liked it. I hope it helps. Thank you for the question and the suggestion again. Happy to try to answer your questions by experimenting as much as possible. And I think for today, I'll just take this first infusion and make sure I enjoy this completely. And then I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.